Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 56 of Thessia, our Aussie-inspired build. I hope you're having a bloody wonderful day. Welcome back to the Aussie build, everyone. It is a tremendous pleasure to be back here. Feels like it's been a long time since I loaded up for a Thessia episode after my vacation, and just spent the first 20 minutes really just flying around and enjoying what we've done. Forgot just how much we've done in this city now. It's been going on for a while, hasn't it? And I absolutely love it. I really love the government district. Always possibly my favourite building in the city, I think, over here. Very nice use of pedestrian pathways. But either way, for today's episode, I want to return to real life Australia, in particular Sydney, because we're going to be building on the other side of the bridge today. So for those following the series, you may remember when we built this area over here, this is almost an exact recreation of what is on the west side of the bridge in Sydney and on the west side of the bridge in Thessia as well, coincidentally enough. This shot right here is pretty much replicated exactly. I'll leave a picture up during the edit, of course. And what I want to do is actually pop over here to the other side of the bridge and recreate what is some very unusual infrastructure. And there's a ton of towers around here, which is going to give us the opportunity to increase Thessia's population. Also, there's an amusement park alongside what looks to be either a metro yard or a train yard. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Given the fact it's Sydney, it might be metro, I believe, but that could be wrong. Either way, some kind of major locomotive storage is present next to a theme park, next to a pool, next to lots of residential towers. So it's a real mix, and we've got a really great opportunity for it here, with the waterfront next to the convention centre that we built a few episodes ago. So that's what we'll do today. Let's get started with an amusement park, rail yard, residential waterfront, shall we? So I think most, if not all of this area is going to be based on pedestrian pathways. So I think to keep it kind of in line with the rest of the build here, we'll stick with the sandstone stuff, but we might do some more IMT decal filler like we have done here. There are some changes in the texture in Sydney, at least. Looks like it goes from kind of brick to stone, etc. So let's start by bringing down our pedestrian area here, and probably just on a 90-degree angle is going to be good enough. Let's go for about here. And that should be decent enough. We have done some terraforming here just to settle things in, but we'll see how it develops anyway if it needs any more. So what I'd like to do first is bring in the pool. So I think the community pool asset is just going to be fine here. So I'd like this to come down to the water. Now we could send this down to the car park as well, which I think we might do. Where would be, I mean, would you just connect in there? We might lose a parking space or two, but we can change that. Do a bit of node control here. Let me just square everybody off. Now let's see if we can bring that green friend down a little bit. Push the blue one away. Yeah, okay, so that at least gives people connection onto the waterfront. I wouldn't mind that same idea extending down here as well. We do already actually have a pedestrian pathway hooked into the car parking roads here. So definitely going to make sense to have this one come down as well. And we'll do that. We don't need to worry about two tighter nodes close together with these pedestrian pathways. It should be alright. But that does allow us to kind of integrate that into the already existing waterfront over here. And then we did mention that we wanted a pool, and because I want an active pool, I think the community pool is going to be the most appropriate. We'd even do two of these if we wanted to, I suppose. Or we could even beef it up, because we are kind of downtown here and working with chunkier infrastructure. How about we explore the aquatic centre? Now I know it's big and I know it's sat on my road. I just want to kind of gauge the scale of it here. I wonder if we go for the aquatic centre instead. It is an exposed pool in Sydney, but there's no reason why we couldn't leave the community pool in here as well. We would certainly have to find room for this aquatic centre there. I guess we could actually use this as part of our amusement park, couldn't we? I don't think we have the aquatic centre in the city yet, do we? I don't think we've used this stadium. It's been such a long time. We have used it. It'll be in the downtown. Yeah, I don't think it is here. We've only got the one major arena over this way, which is very interesting. Maybe we could squeeze the aquatic centre in here after all. It would need quite a bit of bob work, which I'm okay with. And we're also playing with a bit of a gnarly layer here, but I think that'll work in our favour, you know? And then we can build our amusement park around this and actually finish the rail yard just behind it. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that then. This is going to be a difficult one. This is it's going to be a tough one to sell to you all, so as always, do bear with me. Let's get rid of all the alders, and then there's quite a bit of parking on this, isn't there? There's also some sub-buildings too. So let's make sure we remove the alders from there as well. So that is every tree off of it, and then we also want to make sure we get rid of those parking space props too. Fantastic. So, I think we'll definitely bring a key wall in here as well, just to hide a little bit of jank like that. We also do have it out the front as well, which is a bit of a shame, but we'll see what we can do with height. We might even turn that into stairs and make it quite a steep slope to accommodate that. I guess we'll see how it develops. But I think here, the arena actually looks quite natural sat on this height, doesn't it? And then we can treat this as a big kind of aquatic centre for the city, which might be quite fun. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. I am happy with it. So let's go ahead and grab our pedestrian roads back again, and we'll carry on finagling this into position. So first of all, if we come out here, yeah, we are going to hit these bits here, which is fine. So let's line up our pedestrian roads, because I really like to respect that back entrance onto the arena as well. And then somewhere around here we'll have our amusement park gate. Let's have this one go up. Then, do we just want to do that actually? I think that might just be the most simple, best solution, mightn't it? So exploring the front of the arena, if I were to drag this node back up and then make it the same height as the one down there, that makes the front of the arena a lot more palatable, doesn't it? But then we're left with a really steep slope here, which I think we will intersection marking tool with a template. Let's do in the presets, I think, isn't it? If I can remember. It doesn't look like the preset will work here, so we'll do it again. We'll change this to a prop. And then we want to search for one of our step props. I think it's step number 6 we use, isn't it? And then we want to rotate these on the angle. Let's just do straight up 90 degrees. There we go, those are the ones we want. Let's scroll them down to a very small cluster, and then let's sink them down into the ground if we can, and then we'll also shift them in line with the pedestrian. So we can do something pretty similar that we did here in the university campus, have one side stairs and then one side slope if we want to pretend one is for wheelchair access. It's a bit steep for wheelchairs, I realise, but I think we can get away with it. And then we've got the stairs here as well. I think now, I love having that larger building next to the bridge like that. That's pretty cool. I think we'll have that in then, and then we can detail around that during our time lapse, of course. You do want a pedestrian zone. It's going to make sense for us, I think, to just... should already be one here, actually. The expo centre is already up. Though he's saying he's not in a pedestrian area when he very clearly is. Are you okay, aquatic centre? Can we give him a reset? That does seem to have fixed the problem. I'm not entirely sure what was going on there, but he now has the pedestrian area recognition anyway. And we do also have a beach here in Thessia, which I wouldn't be first against receiving some beach visitors here, but there is no beach this side of Sydney. It's all like very much pedestrianised waterfront with planters and palms and whatnot. We'll probably try to respect that. There we go, got our first person coming down, new waterfront, wonderful. We have very cool views to the downtown through here as well. Just it's great seeing all those towers through the bridge pillars, isn't it? Wonderful, really like that. So the second element of our waterfront here is the amusement park. So let's come into park areas, which is something we've massively neglected for a good chunk of Thessia. And I'm keen on... cannot be placed on this road, are you being serious? It's very irritating. I didn't realise that they wouldn't be placed on pedestrian. Even with Anarchy, it's not happy. Okay. Well, can we just use Move It to force it? I wonder in that case, it should still work. Let's just paint this park area over, so essentially down here. We will name the amusement park after one of our beautiful patrons today as well. This is going to be named after our wonderful patron subscriber, Crispy Chicken Mando, but we'll go with Crispy Chicken Park, named after him. Thank you so much for your patronship, Mando. Appreciate you, mate. Thank you for joining up. Those links are down below as well, by the way, if you're interested. If I just throw you one here, what are you going to complain about? Cannot be reached. That is annoying. Okay. I guess maybe in that case then, I wouldn't be totally against having this as a road. I like to keep it quite discreet, so let's go with just parking lot service. And then we can do some nicer concrete stuff out here, so let's just go with regular curbs. Let's spin this one up here. Have one come out this way. And that should give us the connection that we want there. And again, keys and concrete around here during our time lapse will blend in this frontage, which is very nice. That gives us the amusement park, which we'll come to build in a second. So next bit I want to make sure we've got is that rail storage yard. It's a very weird mix of infrastructure around this bit of Sydney. So the more I look at Google Earth, the more I actually want to visit Australia. Just for inspiration. The whole Sydney Harbour Bay area is just incredibly inspiring for CS. So I'd love to bring this in almost an exact replica as to what we have in Sydney. So let's come into our trains, and we want to grab our lines first. So they run pretty much parallel, well they will for us anyway. Parallel with the road. So let's turn off road guideline. Now they stop essentially right next to the amusement park here. So the amusement park will encompass this whole space. So let's have our rails. We'll have the first one run about there. How's that? Too bad. Maybe a tile over might be more helpful actually. We'll do stretches of 20. Let's also pop our guideline back on here as well. So I can see that there's kind of 3 of these major lines all running together, which is fine. Might want to remove the sand texture from here, which I think we will. Can't imagine something like this would be built on sand. It wouldn't be the strongest of foundations, would it? So in terms of where this is actually going to go, of course we do have a rail coming into the port that services the main cargo harbour, and the naval yard as well over here. So I reckon we can get it in somewhere about here. Now this isn't going to be an active rail line, of course it is storage, so we don't need to fret too much about the pedestrian or the rail crossings here. So let's clear out some space. Is this road even needed? I guess it is access into the naval yard, isn't it? So we will keep it. Okay, then essentially it's just following a rail yard system, which is the ladder sort of vibe that we've spoke about in particularly Ilos before, really. I'll have more come down there like that, and then let's do units of 9 and 10. And that should give me the infrastructure that I'm craving there, I think. Of course, we're playing with varying crawling heights here, so let's grab everyone's nodage and say same height as there. Might even do that with this stuff here too. Can we come down to this height? Maybe not so much down like that. Grab this particular node, I think. Not massively bothered about things, just being a little bit more sensibly set here. A little bit of sloping, of course, will always help ease everybody in. But otherwise, I think I can live with that. Hopefully the train police can as well. And then that gives us that facility there, doesn't it? So I did mention wanting to run some keys along here. Now I think for the rail yard, the vanilla key is probably going to be best, isn't it? If I also just have you there, that should do the job I'm after. And then around here is essentially just lots of sand and dust and grime and whatnot. So we'll see if we can get this to sit in. We'll bring in some drier bushes and whatnot during the time lapse, of course. So I'm happy with that. We'll place our trains down during the detail and time lapse as well. get some nice fencing around here too. But I'm happy with that. And now we can finally return to that amusement park. So let's align the gate. Now in Sydney, there's actually a horrific gate. It's like a giant sort of gaping mouth with incredibly traumatizing eyes. I'll leave a picture of it up in the edit. But we don't have anything like that in CS, so we'll have to make do with the kind of king and queen chirper, I guess, for that version in Thessia. And then let's just run some basic amusement park paths around. And then we'll pick out our key assets and make them kind of the centerpiece, if you like. If you'd like to help support the channel and get yourself a fantastic deal in return, do check out the Instant Gaming link. You'll find all of your favourite games at a fantastic price that does help directly support the channel. So if you missed out on something in the last couple of years, check it out on Instant Gaming. The chances are you'll find it for very cheap these days. Instant Gaming have been very long time partners of the channel, so thank you very much if you do indeed end up using it. And then once we've got those down, we can work in the other stuff around it. So straight off the bat, the Ferris wheel and the roller coaster both have to be included here, of course. So I think the Ferris wheel, that's got to sit right on the waterfront there, hasn't it? And definitely want to box that in as well. Again, given the fact this is kind of quite developed pedestrian waterfront in Sydney, I think we are likely to probably key all of this off once we're happy with the shape of the landmark. And again, just to make sure everyone's happy, let's keep grabbing everything with Move It and just set into the same height as a consistent node. That way we shouldn't run into any weird terrain issues when we start prop detailing. And that's going to be one of the best views in the city, isn't it? Especially when you're on the top of the Ferris wheel like that, looking out over all the boats coming past, and you're almost as high as the traffic on the bridge there too. There goes the planes as well. It's lots of fun being back in Thessia, everyone. I'm very happy to be back here. Hope you've missed Thessia as much as I have missed recording it. If you haven't, that's also okay. Let's send another pathway down here. And then we can start bordering up with this. Now, I would send off another pedestrian pathway here, because there is actually one that runs parallel with the rail yard in the real world. So I'd quite like to factor that in as well. Can we squeeze in another side gate here? Let's do that one. Then let's connect that up. And then we can use this as the edge of the park. And then it looks like it just kind of devolves then from landscaped and regular visited amusement park into just a coastal pathway with a couple of benches and some trees that runs parallel with the rail yard. So I might as well give people walking access here up to the industrial port if they require it. I won't take the path into the port. I think this place would definitely not just be open to the general public for them to just swan in here, but they can still have the pathway just for functional walking and whatnot. That should be okay. I think I'm happy with that. Do some nice detouring opportunities here. During our time lapse, of course. So with the Ferris wheel in, let's return to our assets and let's grab roller coaster. So this is our next chungus one. How do we feel about that there? Maybe the other side of the pathway, sort of facing into the city rather than the port, maybe. Something like that. Yeah, I like that there. Very cool. Again, I think this is the first amusement park we've built in Thessia as well, isn't it? I don't think we've used his assets before. And speaking of, maybe Sentinel could have done with a Ferris wheel as well. That would have been quite appropriate for his beachfront, shouldn't it? I didn't, let me double check. I'm probably talking about that and there isn't there? I don't know. No, yeah, we definitely didn't build a Ferris wheel over here. We should though. This like waterfront is prime for a Ferris wheel, isn't it? Maybe we can build Sentinel a little amusement park on a Thessia live stream at some point. We shall see. But that fills that in. That's going to get all those spaces in, and now essentially just filling it up with those larger assets. I wouldn't mind the log ride in here either. One's pretty big though. Maybe not. Just try and really pack out the space because it's pretty densely built up around the amusement park in Sydney. And hopefully there's a bunch of little kind of cuter rides that can squeeze into these spaces. Various different bits and pieces we can do to make it slightly more interesting with props and surface painter and actually access to these amusement park tiles. This should give us a pretty convincing light. I love that you can see all the Melbourne-inspired convention hall stuff there. That's very cool. Big view up there to the bridge with, with those boats, of course. Wonderful. What a great view. We should be able to see some Navy ships coming from here as well. Yes, there you go. There goes the Thessian Navy, keeping our country safe. Cool. So that kind of rounds off this waterfront here, doesn't it? And then the third and final element of this waterfront is a significant bit of residential infrastructure, and there's lots and lots and lots of modern towers around this end of Sydney. Tons of condos, green cities, anything tall and made of glass essentially is the vibe around this point. So I think green cities is going to be the best option for that. Now there is also a metro station down here too, which I would like to possibly move down a little bit. I think I'd rather have it centralized with this area here, and then we can do a bit of a park out the front of it. Might be quite a lot of fun. So wide over again, maybe we could do it out here instead. The tough one this. I think I'm also going to de-industrialize the roads around here too. Let's go just for cycling with median. Seems to be a fair enough play here, doesn't it? And then we'll just do some regular roads coming up here. We'll let those industrial roads kick in as you come toward the power plant, which I do want to maintain a bit of distance from. I don't want industrial sort of like apartments like here, for example. We'll leave this as kind of dry dead green belt with the metro and a bit of a tree line separating where people are actually living. In terms of density, it's extremely dense. There's essentially very little, if zero, room left in the blocks here, so we'll create ourselves some very dense blocks and then we can start filling them in. I'd also like to really introduce some angles into here as well, so we're not kind of going full ILOS grid. I would like some kind of bends and curves if at all possible, and maybe a little bit of node removal needed there. Let's get rid of that node. There we go. Cool, and then we can have that there. And I think if we're going to keep the station here, let's just move you up. Are you going to be angry at me for doing that, game? And how about a touch more node removal? That should work. I think that should be alright. Cool. Yeah, metro is still connected. And then at the front of this is where we'll change what we have here. Let's get rid of that. Fantastic, and that should give us the design that I would like to put outside of the station, which I wouldn't mind pedestrianizing. This isn't a particularly important connection here, I don't think. I think I will pedestrianize it, actually. And again, we'll stick with sandstone. Yeah, let's have that as pedestrian. We'll bring the service point over in a second, because they can get into the power plant through here. And through the main car park on the front. Straight down. Have one going across. And that would be cool, but probably not a necessary connection into the roundabout. We're not going to get a vast amount of people walking there, so I think we'll probably leave that one, actually. I actually need to widen out these nodes here as well on the roundabout. Let's stretch everyone up to 21 meters or so. So let's place down our first towers and then we'll do the rest in a little montage here. So let's grab green cities. We essentially want 4 by whatever, really. Do we want the larger buildings? So let's go. We'll respect a natural crawling height here as well. Let's get those taller, beefier towers. I know these ones for sure will sit up quite nicely here. So let's get those in. Some of the taller numbers in. And essentially just try and make this look as Sydney as possible, essentially. A little bit of finagling and twisting required. And then I think where we do end up with little spaces like that, I wouldn't mind filling it with tiny little parks. Probably the tourism stuff's going to be most appropriate. Maybe even a couple little courts like that or something. Then maybe let's bring down a filter there for something that's 3 wide to slide into that spot. Something like that. and then a little bit of surface painter around each block just to make it look a little bit more organic. Possibly through there as well. Let's not fill that one in. If we do end up with very micro spaces like that, let's just go ahead and grab some custom trees. Do something large. We are quite tropical around this bit of the coast in Sydney, so I'd like to maintain the palm and gum vibe, I think, where possible. Something like that. Cool. Now it's just going to be a sense of filling up with lots of condos. A little bit of wall-to-wall would be welcome here too. So it should allow us to create a very Sydney side of the bridge over this way anyway. Once it's all in. Which, speaking of, we will do in that time-lapse, which now feels like a good point for. Lots to do here. Let's finish off the amusement park with more props, get the trains in, fence work where possible to border off what shouldn't be access to the public. A bit of detailing around the front of this station, I think, just to make it look a bit more attractive, some bush linings and trees. And then a ton of Sydney-esque residential towers, condos and apartments. Let's detail it up, and then we'll be right back. guys, let's have a little detailing review, shall we? So our Sydney-inspired waterfront has turned out tremendously well, and a ton of fun to build. I never thought of putting this together. That's why Google Earth's just so inspiring, especially when you take an inspiration from a specific city or a country. Just finding a bit of infrastructure like this to make a build out of is tremendous amounts of fun. So we now have our amusement park, the Crispy Chicken Park, so to speak. All up here we have rock walls all around the edge of the key here as well. I didn't want kind of keys all the way around. I thought it might have been a bit too industrial, so there's a mix and match of key walls and rocks. Taking a little seating plan that was basically in Sydney next to the rail yard here. Just a nice place to sit and enjoy the park and the huge bridge from here, and great views over the water in the bay and across to the government district over there as well. And then we'll come across over toward our aquatic centre, where the park has also been filled out now with various bits of rides and attractions and whatnot. Really fun. I feel like a really underutilized park life in a modded build. We were the same in Ilos for some reason as well. I don't know why. It's like if I play with mods, I don't care for park life. I don't know why. Over here we do have some pathways that are hooked into a walkable key in an effort to bait someone on here. And there is another pathway here. That's what this light is. So people can walk it, but I think the AI will gravitate to the pedestrian path, but it's there if indeed they want it. Then our aquatic centre sits very nicely. We've got some planters with some Thessia flags, a couple of tables and chairs here outside a cafe next to our swim centre, and then also a sports field here as well, which sits really nicely under the bridge. A big fan of this. Heading onto the main road where all our residential is sat, and we have a very nice sight line. Actually, we'll fly back down to the rail yard where there has now been various train cars stored here. That's what I'm going to go for. I don't know if it's metro or train storage in Sydney. I'm sure some of our Australian viewers might be able to clarify if you are familiar with the city. But I've just gone for some regular train storage here, not too far from our cargo terminals over here as well, of course. There's still a lot of work to do around here. This area is by no means finished. And then back here we have a very cool view down the main street, with our great crawling height here with all the high density residential, which hopefully has boosted our population up a little bit, up to 63 now, so we've got like 3,500 people in today's stream, which is a nice little population bump, isn't it? And then there's a great shot here, if we can time it right, for looking down the main street with the stadium on the right and all this residential on the left over here as well. There's various parks mixed in amongst them too. Oh, there we go, we missed it. What I was wanting to show was that metro passing over, looking down towards the convention centre over there. Trains doing it now as well. I love Teddy Radko with every fibre of my being for this bridge. It's an absolutely wonderful thing to build around and so inspiring, considering obviously it's based off of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. That massive bit of infrastructure. It really helps kind of bring a sense of scale to the city, I think, doesn't it? Which I'm tremendously happy with, so the bridge sits in wonderfully well there. And then it's a mix and match of green cities, vanilla, couple of workshop assets, and then wall-to-wall buildings. With some planters through here as well in the open concrete spaces. Just to help create a very modern Sydney-esque high-rise that is on this side of the bridge near the amusement park on the waterfront. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's a nice kind of sensible mini skyline within itself. There's more parks kind of placed in and around here as well. Clever use of positioning and surface painter and little geometric shapes that are available with green cities to create these sorts of buildings. And then actually looked at the, I think it's called the Milton Point station in Sydney. I think it's a train in Australia, isn't it? Whereas there's obviously metro. But took inspiration from that station there. Just for some very nice angular pedestrian pathwork. Which has turned out very nice actually. Definitely something you could convert into vanilla, this. Definitely see this again, I think. The kind of angular triangle pedestrian paths with little bits of commercial on the corner where needed, and then more of that residential palette over here again as well. I'm hoping that the influx of residences here will increase the usership of this station, because it's not massively busy at the minute. But they do have cycling, and of course the other metro stops over here too, that comes off of this side. This one seems to be getting significantly more ridership. So I don't know if they're walking over to this one and the AI just hasn't really fathomed that as an option yet. But yeah, this one is definitely the more popular of the two metro stations, but these guys are right near all the uniques in the exhibition centre as well. And don't forget, there is actually metro underground hooked into these stations here too. You can see them moving around here from well, not last episode. well, a couple of episodes ago when we built this convention centre. So there's plenty of public transport here, so that's probably nerfing the effect that that metro has on it. Now, there's a great sightline as well, if I can continue to waffle for a little bit longer. Kind of an inner city viewpoint here, in amongst all the apartments. You can see the bridge, you can even see the cars on the bridge and the trains there too. Great viewpoint that, isn't it? Really, really nice sat through there, and there's lots of little custom tree work. More planters over here on the street as well. To create a very nice little authentic and pretty faithful recreation of what sits on this side of the real life Sydney Harbour Bridge compared to the Thessia Harbour Bridge. Otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. Massive shout out to all the patrons that support the channel if you're interested in that. Down below, alongside Instant Gaming, best ways to support the channel if you are enjoying it. Thank you for the continued support on modded CS1 content, if indeed you have made it this far into the video. And I hope you're all happy with the return of Thessia. I think next episode we're going to do kind of a wedding venue build. I'm really keen to kind of get like a big Aussie country estate in where everyone gets married, and we can get some wedding props as well, so I think we'll do that next week. Otherwise, do continue your build ideas for Thessia. We've also got a massive national park coming up on the right-hand side of the screen here where the big mountains are. So lots of fun and lots more development this side of the bay to do as well as we continue to add density into this part of the map. Otherwise, please do enjoy some pretty sensational cinematics. They always are when we're in and around the downtown, I'm sure. Otherwise, let's thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.